Hey guys! Welcome back to another video. Today, we will talk about interest rates and the Fisher formula. Let's get started. First, you need to know the difference between nominal and real interest rates. These terms are similar to nominal and real GDP, which you may have learned in a previous lesson. Nominal interest rates are the interest rates that have not been adjusted for inflation, while real interest rates are those that have been adjusted for inflation. Now that you understand the difference between nominal and real interest rates, let's begin talking about the Fisher formula. The Fisher formula describes the relationship between nominal interest rates, real interest rates, and inflation. It states that the nominal interest rate, represented by I, is approximately equal to the real interest rate, represented by R, plus the expected inflation rate, represented by pi. This is the most simple equation. The more precise equation looks like this, but for the sake of your well-being, we recommend using the simpler formula. So, what is this formula used for? Well, lenders and borrowers established their nominal interest rates using this equation. Let's see an example of this in use. Suppose a bank wants their loans to be returned with a real interest rate of 4%, and they expect the inflation rate to be 2%. This bank will then charge a nominal interest rate of 6% to its customers. The Fisher formula can also be rewritten in terms of the real interest rate. It states that the real interest rate is approximately equal to the nominal interest rate minus the expected inflation rate. This can be used to calculate a real interest rate in hindsight by subtracting the actual inflation rate from the nominal interest rate. Let's see an example of this in use. Suppose a bank charged its customers a nominal interest rate of 8% and the actual inflation rate was 3%. Using the equation, you can find out, in hindsight, that the real interest rate was 5%. One implication of the Fisher formula is that unexpected rates of inflation will either benefit or hurt borrowers and lenders. Higher than expected rates of inflation will benefit borrowers because borrowers will pay lower real interest rates and pay back their loans with less valuable dollars. On the other hand, lenders or banks will be hurt by higher than expected inflation, as they will be paid back lower real interest rates and earn less valuable dollars from their loans. Here, we'll use the Fisher formula from earlier to explain. Suppose a bank wants their loans to be returned with a real interest rate of 4%, and they expect the inflation rate to be 3%. This bank will then charge a nominal interest rate of 7% to its customers. However, the inflation rate turns out to be 5%. Plugging in those numbers, we find out that the actual real interest rate is now 2%, meaning that borrowers will pay back fewer real dollars, while lenders earn fewer real dollars. On the other hand, lower than expected rates of inflation will hurt borrowers because borrowers will pay higher real interest rates and pay back their loans with more valuable dollars. On the other hand, lenders or banks will benefit by higher than expected inflation, as they will be paid back higher real interest rates and earn more valuable dollars from their loans. We'll use the same example from before to explain. The same bank still charges a nominal interest rate of 7% to its customers, expecting a real interest rate of 4% and the inflation rate to be 3%. However, let's say the inflation rate turns out to be 2%. Plugging in those numbers, we find out that the actual real interest rate is now 5%, meaning that borrowers will have to pay back more real dollars, while lenders will earn more real dollars. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching and make sure to like and subscribe. We hope to see you soon.